My name is Beatrice Dixon. I am the co-founder and CEO at the Honey Pot. Thank you guys for all that beautiful energy. I needed it today. Lord knows. First of all, I want to say thank you to my team. They're wonderful. The team to put on the event. Thank you guys so much. It takes a lot to do an event like this, you know? And it takes a lot for people to come, right? And so I'm really, really grateful. We are here tonight in celebration of Black History Month, our short month. But it's really every day, right? And we come with an experience called Reclaiming Wellness, which is really important to Honey Pot. Very important to me. I mean, it's the reason why we built this whole company, right? To help us to reclaim wellness, specifically with our vagina, right? And so I am here with so many beautiful women, artists, historians, psychotherapists. And I'm really excited for this conversation that we're gonna have tonight. I also wanted to take a moment to thank Target because we did this event in partnership with Target. Target has been a wonderful partner to Honey Pot, and they're a wonderful partner to our Reclaiming Wellness events that has been anniversary. So why don't you beautiful humans go through one by one and introduce yourselves and let everybody know what you do.
Hi, everyone. So excited to see everybody here. I actually graduated from Howard. So I'm Sakeenah Hakim. I'm based in Los Angeles, California. I have a private practice where I do therapy. And I also run a nonprofit organization called Hakim for Kids, where we support children and families impacted by incarceration. And I'm also a yoga teacher. So I do yoga, prenatal yoga. And one of my basically initiatives this year is doing a lot of wellness workshops for new moms. So yeah, that's it.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. Afiya, and I also went to Howard. So I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm a hairstylist. So I developed something called psychotherapy, where I use hair as an entry point into mental health. And so I train hair care professional stylists, barbers, how to do therapy. And so this is where I'm entering the conversation today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deun Ivory. I did not go to Howard, but I am from Houston, the greatest place ever. No, I'm just saying it because of Beyonce. But anyways, I am so many things. I'm a creative visionary. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, commercial photographer, muse. I just be doing the most. And it's just all centered around like Black women and celebrating us. I'm also the founder of The Body a Home for Love, which is a 501c3 nonprofit and creative wellness space for Black women and sexual trauma survivors. And we essentially use photography as a way to heal. And I also am behind the social impact initiative called Black Women Are Worthy, where we kind of curate installations dedicated to Black women through art, through wellness, and through beauty, because I do believe that beauty enjoys our birthright. So that's me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Feminista Jones. I'm a lady of leisure, and as Lil Kim said, I get paid for laying in the shade. I'm a retired mental health social worker, so I feel like I'm the old lady though. It's out there. I did not go to Howard either. We did also go to college together. I write books. My last book is called Reclaiming Our Space: How Black Feminists Are Changing the World from the Tweets to the Streets. I've written some other books as well. My first one is erotic smut. Go get it. It's called Push the Button if you like sexy things. I think I got some nasty scenes in there. Enjoy it. Sold over 10,000 copies all over the world. So I I do a lot around mental health, particularly among Black women. Currently working on my dissertation, looking at African matriarchy and representations of Black motherhood. I'm very much invested in this idea. I teach a course at Temple University called The Black Woman. I'm very much interested in the experiences of Black women. I go hard for us on every platform that you could possibly think of. And that's kind of what I do. And I also am a lady of leisure. Like, this is important. I sleep a lot. I'm in my bed a lot because I'll be 44 in April and I deserve to be in my bed as often as possible.
Earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's still seats in the front. Can people come up here and sit?
It's okay.
Wow, this is wow.
This is amazing.
This is so beautiful. Wow. So, okay, let's get started. Sakeenah.
Yes.
You briefly mentioned your work as a social worker and a physiotherapist. How do you see the Black experience in childhood development impacting our perception of wellness?
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the ACEs study. It's for adverse childhood experiences. And what they do is they take 10 traumatic experiences, whether it's incarceration, substance use, or any sex abuse, and they use that as a tool to see if any of these experiences happen before the child is 18 years old, and say it's an indicator that there's going to be some mental health issues, some physical health issues. And I know her name escapes me right now, but the importance of that screening is for preventative care, right? To make sure that if we see these things are going on in the home with the kids, that we put things in place to intervene. So if we know there was a child that had an incarcerated parent or, or just a family member in the home, how can we make sure this mother has access to resources to make sure the family system is going to be okay? So any type of traumatic experience that the children have that we know we kind of go through in our community, that we kind of we make it too normal, right? We have these experiences and we say resiliency is, we get through things like that. But if we're normalizing trauma, especially for our children, if we don't bring it to its awareness when they're a child, or be honest with our children what's really going on as far as their emotions, what they're experiencing, I think we're doing a disservice to our youth. So putting things in place to take care of things that are missing or whatever the experience was, and relying on your village and your community is important. So father gets locked up, okay, let's find him a mentor in this program. Mother has setbacks of physical disability or anything like that. Okay, what kind of after school programs can we put in place to get the kids well? So I think preventative methods are the best way to address the wellness of our children.
Yes, we are really conditioned to trauma in this world, right? And that's not a Black thing. That's not a colored thing. That's just a thing. It's really, really interesting. So being at a university is so fitting for this conversation. Thank you, Howard University. At this age, we're often recognizing our place in the world, right? We're jumping into the workplace, building foundations for ourselves and for how we want to show up. Feminista, I would love to get your perspective on how humans at this age can start acting as self-advocates for wellness, especially since this task can be so daunting. Such a good one. And you are the one to answer.
Embrace leisure. No. So I talk to young people like yourself all the time, and I really think, as somebody who is an activist, I recognize the history of revolution, and it always happens with the youth. And it's more because you all have the energy, you have the exposure, you have the connections, and you're building community with each other, and you can literally change the world, right? So I'm always thinking about, all right, so what do you need to do to change the world? You cannot do everything for yourself. I know right now in this audience, there are people who are in 5 different clubs, you're president of 3. When you organize in a community service, you're at every event, you're carrying all the weight, And there's 15 other people that could be doing it with you, but they're not. And you're taking it on yourself because you feel like, well, if I don't do it, it won't get done. Right? That's going to destroy you. Take it from somebody who lived that life 20 years ago. It's going to harm you. It's going to hurt you. You have to build community. You all will not exist and survive and be well without community. And one of the things I'm noticing about your generation is that you have a disconnect when it comes to building community. And part of it is because 80% of communication is body language, and you're all talking to each other through devices. So how do you feel people's energy? How do you build community with people you can't feel? How do you develop empathy and compassion for people you cannot feel? You only see their avatars and their fonts, right? So I want to encourage you all to actually talk to each other and sit next to each other. Sometimes sit in silence to absorb each other's energy and just kind of breathe each other. Develop that compassion and that empathy, because once you build that community, you'll feel so much stronger yourself, and you'll be able to do so many more things without feeling like you're falling apart. And you gotta know when to step back as well. I think the biggest part of being your age is feeling you have to do everything by a certain age. If I don't get this done by this time, if I don't graduate by this age or get this job or what have you, then I fail. Many of you have pressure from your parents to major in this thing and become this particular job, carry the family legacy, or be the first one from your family, and all those pressures you have. And I just want to remind you, you ain't got to do nothing to stay black and fat. Okay, like seriously. And that's so important, because I go on social media and I see people like, I'm 25 and I haven't done whatever. Like Maya Angelou ain't published her first book till she was 40. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta think long term. I know they're out here trying to kill us off, but you're gonna be here for a while, trust me. So you have some time, all right? Just pace yourselves, breathe. You don't have to do everything right now.
When did you wake up? When did you realize that?
When did I realize that? Probably one of the first times I ended up in the hospital from overexhaustion, stress, things like that. When I was diagnosed with agoraphobia, I realized that
you heard what she said the first time.
First time, yeah.
Which indicates that there was multiple
Oh
times.
yeah, oh for sure. Like no, like, but they know me, they knew me. Yeah, and you can win awards or whatever. You don't think it's cute when you graduate, they're gonna give you a little award because you did all these things, but nobody's gonna care about that award in 20 years. So it's nice now, and it's not even gonna matter on your resume. They're not gonna care about it either, especially if it's named after a Black person. I won a Malcolm X award, a John Edgar Wideman award, W.E.B. Du Bois Award. They did not care. So I loved it, but 20 years later, nobody cares. What they will care about is, can you wake up? Can you be your full self? Can you think through things? And I realized that I was actually struggling with that. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't be around people. I didn't understand what was going on, why I was afraid to turn the door to go outside. Even to this day, like I'm sitting here now and it's cool, but I have to prep for this kind of stuff. And then after this, I run to my hotel room because I'm still dealing with that kind of stuff. And that really started developing when I was younger.
So please hear that, you guys. Don't look up here and think that we're just saying these things to you, like preaching at you. This is real shit, right? Our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunties say stress will kill you, but it can, right? Overexhaustion happens because of stress and anxiety. She's not telling you to not go for your dreams. She's not telling you to, and I'm not trying to talk to you, Feminista, talk for you.
No,
I'm just
right.
saying.
I'm not telling you not to go for what you want.
Exactly.
Because trust me, I'm in Aries. I've done it all. Okay. Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
Like I know y'all here, red hair. No, I've done it all, and it's great. But I wish I knew back then how important sleep was, because you can't catch up on it.
And drinking water, you can't.
You can't get back.
Nope.
I try. I'm telling you, I try every day in my bed, and it does not catch up. So getting sleep, but you'll also, again, taking breaks. You have to step away. You may think, if I don't do it, it won't get done. But guess what? Don't let it get done then. What, the world's gonna end? It's not. Trust me. And you realize that when you go to get a job and you end up quitting your job and they hire somebody else the next day. That's when you learn that lesson.
I've been trying to like take, even if it's like a 7-minute nap. I did that this week. I was like, I got 10 minutes between this call and my next one. I'm gonna close my eyes for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, my boyfriend is really good at that, by the way. But yeah, it's important, you know, and I think that we're so conditioned to work and to go after it and to you know, just go hard, especially in this movement of like this girl boss movement, right? I'm not saying anything's wrong with being a girl boss, but understand that like when you're really doing that shit, it's not pretty. It's not cute, right? It can be fun, but it's not fun all the time, right? You know, like I'm full transparency today, I'm having a moment, right? Like I really want to go home. I haven't been home really technically in a few weeks, probably more than that, right? I go home in short stints. I get to be home for 2 or 3 days at a time, right? I'm grateful to be able to sit on the stage and to be able to talk to you and to be able to talk to these really beautiful humans and to be here with my team. But understand that it is hard, you know, and you do yourself a disservice by not saying that out of your mouth, right? By not taking a break, by not going to bed, by not drinking your water, by not taking, right? So we're we're up here vibing on this because if you don't learn anything from this conversation, this is probably one of the most important things to take away. Dr. Afiya, as a historian and a hairstylist, which I love, by the way. I love how you put that together. And isn't her hair beautiful, y'all? She looks so beautiful. And so as someone who's paired these things together so beautifully, I'd love to know your perspectives on how reclaiming your relationship with hair reclaims your wellness. Isn't that beautiful? Like you make me want to do my hair, and I'll do it.
It is done. I already felt like you two were staging an intervention on me already, but in terms of, yeah, it's interesting studying the rituals of our ancestors. Hair was supposed to be done slowly and intentionally. It wasn't supposed to hurt. That offering to do someone's hair was a sign of friendship because you knew that you'd spend hours and hours and hours and hours getting to know them and telling stories and making jokes. But I think a lot about hair rituals. So a ritual, if we use like Sobonfu Some's definition of ritual, is how we prepare our mind, body, and spirit to receive a
Whose definition of ritual?
Sobonfu Some.
Who is that?
Oh, she's okay.
Like, don't just skip over that music.
Yeah, you about to bring my professor out. Okay. All right. Isn't this shirt giving ink blot? Okay. Okay. Psychology professor, energy. So Sobonfu Some is now an ancestor, but she's from the Dagara ethnic group of Burkina Faso. She has several books. My favorite book by Sobonfu Some, if you want to write this down real quick, The Spirit of Intimacy. The Spirit of Intimacy. Have you heard? It's short. The Spirit of Intimacy. And so that's whose definition I use for ritual. And so when it comes to rituals, just in terms of recognizing that this is how we take care of ourselves traditionally, in terms of the cleansing process, the moisturizing, and even the product choice, right? Because I definitely believe in the philosophy, the things that we put on our hair or on our skin, we should be able to eat or should be plant-based, right? In terms of thinking about how things get into our body system topically and through our bloodstream, it's actually faster through our skin than our digestive system.
It's your largest organ.
Yeah. And so to even think about hair then being an extension of your nervous system and being able to soothe yourself through these different medicines and hair care. Okay, what was the question again about history? Because
I love it.
You asked me about Sobonfu Some, so I have to talk about.
Basically on how reclaiming your relationship with your hair supports your wellness.
Okay, so I definitely value wash day. In terms of having that day of the week to actually spend time with yourself, to cleanse yourself, to pray over yourself, to use products that are healthy for your body as medicine, and to create a look, right? Our hair is a complex language system. You can tell a lot about someone based on their hairstyle. Don't worry, I'm not reading anybody in here, but in terms of how old someone is, their health practices, you can tell where they're from. Anybody from New York in here? Okay. All right. You can tell where somebody's
What
from.
can you tell about New Yorkers?
No. That we're in touch with our anger.
Ooh, that's
Are we?
okay.
Okay, all right, we'll go with that. But to even think about, so many identity markers in terms of the language of hair. And so having that conversation with yourself, or if you're not a professional, to go seek support from someone else. And it's one of the few times that Black women get to bathe other Black women, like with this intention. So just historically, that this is the way that we passed on stories and medicines and connection. And so continuing that legacy today.
What are some of the, because I like what you said, like on watch day, just like telling yourself and praying to yourself. What are some mantras, or do you have any mantras that you tell yourself on your watch day that you can share?
I think I need to construct some, but I definitely do some mirror work. Has anybody heard of Louise Hay? Because it literally is just looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. Have you done that before? If you try it's very, very meta to really have sustained eye contact with yourself and love on yourself in that way and to receive it. So that's some of the mirror work and hair care work.
I used to do that because I wasn't at a point where I loved myself. So I put I love you like in my car or my dash. I put it on my mirror. I always would put little signs for myself. I remember probably in like 2013, I wrote myself $1 million check and I put it on my ceiling. So every night when I went to sleep, I would see it before I went to bed, because I knew that I wanted to bring that to myself. So Louise Hayes, man, what's the name of her book again?
You can heal you.
Heal You. Yeah, it's really good. You guys should look it up. Yeah. Deun. Hey, boo. Isn't she so cutie, you guys? So Deun, I'm sure you have lots of thoughts on this. Yes. How do you leverage what you're seeing from the community to create art that unlocks these larger conversations of wellness, but also with beauty? Because it's clear that is a really big thing for you. So kind of, going off of what Afiya was talking about.
That's such a great question. I think that, so I was raised in Dallas, Texas. I was, brought up in a Christian community, different things like that. And just the different narratives that took place, within that background, some of it was detrimental to my self-esteem. And so I think that, I want to get emotional. I get so emotional because I'm just so passionate about it. I'm very annoyed. You know that lump in your throat? It's just so annoying. But anyways, okay.
It's okay to be emotional. Yes.
And it's just like Black women, you're just like, oh, I'm home. I can talk about these things and just, yes, okay. But I'm still trying to hold it together. I think that like tapping into my imagination has been like a visual prayer, right? And now I have that language for what that means and what that looks like and how that's like manifested in my life. And so what I mean by imagination is that because I was around what I feel like is detrimental narratives around Black women, like being built like this or having this shade of skin or this type of hair, it really affects you. And so I feel like you talk to your friends and you have those honest conversations about what beauty is, you know what I'm saying? What is this person pretty? Why are they not pretty or whatever? And I think for me, photography has been like, just a really intimate space for me to I think I look at it as like a visual love letter to Black women. And it started as a visual love letter to myself, because like I said, I struggled with the self-esteem and different things like that. And so even when I've been having these conversations with women when we're doing photography, it's not so much about, oh, this is a pretty photo. It's about me serving you. Like that is my first form of ministry, has been through photography. Because through that, it's like a therapy session. I'm like, I'm gassing you up. I'm like, yes, girl. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm pouring into you. And I feel like it's so spiritual because in me pouring into them, I was also pouring into myself because I am a reflection of the women that I'm photographing. So when a lot of these women are like, they look at the photos and they're like, this is the first time I've ever seen myself and I feel beautiful. That to me is like a reward. That's like the fruit. And that is the intention behind all of it. Like, how can I help you to fall in love with yourself? Because you are inherently magical. You are beautiful. And you're all of these things that you may have been robbed of in your childhood, like me. I was not aware until later. And so I feel like a lot of my relationships with my friends and just the feedback that I've gotten around my photography has informed the way I take up space, you know, just being unapologetically confident, you know, just being loud and just happy and focusing on living in worthiness. I feel like my healing journey is on a public display. And I'm allowing other women to join in that with me through my art. So when I'm doing photography or when I'm doing these art galleries, this is an opportunity for you to insert yourself into a narrative that feels good, that feels empowering, because this is essentially how I've reconditioned myself, you know?
So speaking on that, you had a series called Black Women Are Worthy.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. So I have a nonprofit that I have. It's called The Body a Home for Love. And I remember we were trying to raise some money. And so I've never directed a film, but I'm a photographer. And so I was like, okay, this is an opportunity for you to challenge yourself. Just kind of look at it as like steals in motion. You know, I was trying to like ease my anxiety. And so I remember praying and I was like, okay, God, you know, this is a film, but I have to talk. I don't know what to say. And so I prayed and I was like, I just thought about like Serena Williams and like other Black women who just struggled and have been in spaces where they didn't feel safe or feel seen. And I swear to you, like everything that was said throughout that film, it was like divine. And it was like an all Black, you know, team, all Black women. And it was just, we shot it in Calabasas. And so I was just like, how can I, once again, create a visual love letter to these Black women, helping them to understand their magic and understand that you are worthy. You are worthy of every good thing that wants to take up space in your life, right? You're worthy of being understood. You're worthy of a safe space. Like I wanted them to be drenched in that love. And like I said, because it is me loving myself and like healing my inner child and giving that to them. So Black Women Are Worthy. It's film, it's installations, it's art, it's a lifestyle. It's a reality that I want women to believe in. Thank you.
Because we are worthy.
Yeah.
We are worthy of wellness, and happiness, quiet,
Yeah.
and taking a nap.
Yes. That part.
And we are worthy. And to me, that's really where the real wealth is.
Absolutely.
Is knowing that you're worthy of that.
Yes.
You know, Feminista, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this. You use your platform as a speaker, social creator, podcaster, and podcaster to form your really important statements for the Black community. What did you see in your community that pointed out this need to you? And then how is it work? And then how is your work serving it?
I was thinking of, you know, actually that's a good question because I want to connect it to the first one that you asked about the Black experience. What is that? Right? We pathologize it. We look at it as negative. We assume trauma and negativity. There's a lot of people that didn't grow up with some of that stuff. I did. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the, you know, Queens and the Bronx in the late 70s, early 80s. Like I single mom kind of thing, like, you know, I knew that trauma and whatever, but not all of us have that experience, especially these days. Like so many of our generation, we worked hard to make sure y'all don't have to go through a lot of that stuff, right? So it's like, well, what do we understand the Black experience to be? Same thing with the Black community. What I understand though, in the experiences that I've had being a social worker who was working in like literally the worst zip codes in the country, is that the biggest thing is that we don't believe we deserve to be free. And now I'm gonna say that again. We don't believe that we deserve to be free. We don't understand what freedom is outside of comparing it to oppression. We don't know what liberation looks like without comparing it to struggle. We believe that
She called it like she said.
so we don't believe. No, so Carter G. Woodson told us that we are miseducated. Our brains are poisoned from the moment we step foot in any of these schools, right? We cannot rely necessarily on our parents to teach us differently because they received the same miseducation. And so we're going in and being poisoned from damn near birth to believe that whatever is doled out to us is what we are supposed to be. So we can't even conceptualize an existence outside of that oppression. When I go into communities, and I'm a case act, I used to work with people that had severe substance abuse, addictions, and things like that. We call it substance abuse addiction. I'm calling it survival and self-medication because that is what it is. Like, and you can't go to brunch and have endless mimosas and then talk about the person that is smoking whatever every day just to get through because baby, you're doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like alcohol is a drug. If you drink alcohol, no, and I'm only standing up because I got a big butt. It's not really comfortable. So I'm not trying to preach to nobody right here because, you know, I'm gonna leave it to my pastor right here. But if you drink alcohol, you use drugs. You're a drug user. You are no better than anybody else. And so we have to understand that our people are self-medicating however we can. We are seeking education however we can, but we have a literacy problem. Okay, so 10% of Black men and 13% of Black women can read beyond an 8th grade level. All right, we have an issue with illiteracy that is preventing us from understanding or even being able to conceptualize what freedom looks like, and that is by design. And so when I would go and do this work, I was emptying the ocean with a teaspoon because I knew that the hardest work is convincing our people that they deserve to be free. And so when you get into that space and you understand that all this other stuff becomes bandages, dressings for wounds, we are healing wounds and picking scabs and hoping they heal again and trying to put a salve and a balm on it, but because we can't stop the cut from happening. And then you have to convince people that you don't deserve to be cut. We wake up thinking, I'm gonna get cut today. How am I gonna deal with it? And so that's what I think the biggest need is, and how have I been able to do that? Well, it's through education, through talking to people, simply raising the fact and making people conscious of these things, because they rely on us to be not conscious and unconscious. Because look at the food that we eat and how it sedates us, right? The water, how they poison our water, like the toxins in the airs in our neighborhoods, the fact that they won't collect the trash, so we have to breathe it every day and get sick and develop learning disabilities from the lead in the paint and the lead in the water. They are systemically and systematically trying to destroy us to a cellular level, right? So that's where I'm at with that. I'm gonna sit down again. I'm sorry, but the white devil was trying. So.
This time that you all are in right now is the time where you're enjoying your life, right? You're being free, you're drinking, you might be smoking an L now and then, right? You might
Every
be
day.
whatever, right? And look, live your life, but understand what she just said is real, right? You don't really have to do that. You choose to do it. And alcohol we haven't been conditioned to think it's as bad as doing drugs, but sometimes it can almost be worse.
No,
Right?
it
It is worse.
You can drink for 20 years, stop drinking for 20 years, take a shot and it'll kill you.
Exactly.
Your body will respond to that.
Yeah.
Like
so-
it is one of the most dangerous things that you can put in your body, but we do it because why? It feels good.
And we've been conditioned
To believe that that it's the way to help us.
exactly. So we're not trying to preach to you, but be careful. Like, you know,
Moderation, because I'm
Yeah.
I'm all about, harm reduction and do what you got to do. It's all about moderation because I want Black people to survive. So what you need to do to survive, that's what I want. But also like think about developing healthier replacements for that kind of stuff. It's super important because you don't want to be turning 44 and being like, all right, what am I having to drink today?
Right.
No, seriously, like you don't want to be in that state.
Right. So when we talk about these spaces, Sakeenah, whether those are tangible spaces or intrinsic, where do we feel safe in? What are some of the spaces we feel safe in as Black people, right? Like, what are some of the defined qualifiers? Excuse me. Look at my reading levels, y'all. I'm gonna start over again. When we talk about these spaces, whether those are tangible spaces or intrinsic, where we feel safe as Black humans? What are the defined qualities and what are some of the spaces that currently don't feel safe to you and why?
I want to say first, spaces that are safe for me are the spaces that feel like home, where I can see myself, like coming in here, I see myself. Those spaces are comfortable for me, even if it's a space I've never been in. It's just the automatic. I'm gonna go on tangent just for a second. I'm a new mom, and it's also, thank you. But you also had to be careful with saying, you think you see yourself, and I had a birthing experience. I was about 7.5 months pregnant, and my doctor, who was Black, did not make me feel safe. So I switched over to having my son at a birthing center. And long story short, when I initially started my prenatal visits, I asked about home births. So throughout my prenatal visits, I was that patient that asked about home births, and she was selling me on having my baby at the hospital. Like, oh, you should have here, they're Black midwives and this and that, but she missed some things that my iron was low, she didn't tell me. So I had to go to a space where I thought, they say what your all my kinfolk ain't kinfolk. So you have to be careful with that too. You can't automatically feel like you're going to be safe because you see yourself. So I think it's important you talked about this generation as far as like everything's electronic. You have to be in an environment. You have to feel people. You have to go off the energy. So yes, I could be in a room full of people that look like me, but I have to make sure that what the vibe is like. We're here for wellness. So the intentions of people here I know are good. So I automatically feel safe in this space. Someone that started off in corporate doing business, I was a business major at Clark. I went there too. And being in environments where I'm a Black woman in executive leadership positions, and I don't feel safe in some of those environments, mostly because of white people in those spaces who want to question my ability, who want to gaslight me, and also make me feel like my expertise, my decisions for the program I'm running is not valuable. I had to put things in place to get out of that system to where I was no longer questioning my abilities as a professional, as a provider, and not always having to advocate, or they will put you in space. My experience is that they made me feel like I wasn't being cooperative, right? And I'm not going to continue to try to navigate those spaces. Even if you advocate for yourself in those spaces, sometimes you still can be unsafe because now there's white fragility. And I'm the angry Black woman. So my way of making sure I stayed well in those spaces was to remind myself where I came from, remind myself of the education that I put myself in, looking in that mirror, to reassure myself, having my community, having my mentors, reaching back to my friends that I went to school with, my teachers that I went to school with, to help me try to create a safe space for me while I'm in those unsafe spaces. Right. And you also you go to work and you have friends that look like you. But in that room, they don't look like you because they're trying to protect themselves. So your wellness really has to come from within so you can be able to take care of yourself and protect yourself in those unsafe spaces.
What were some of the ways that you communicated out with people when you're being put in that box or being pushed into that corner? How did you communicate
With myself or with the?
With the people that were.
So I'm very direct. That's why I said that angry Black woman. You have these meetings, you have agendas, and people have that line. Okay, this is what we said next week. What we were going to do last week, and we didn't do it. I provide evidence, and I didn't like feeling like I always have to provide proof that I did my part. And I don't want to call you out on what you didn't do, but here it is. Or those emails, like I said previously in the last email, those things come out because you had to protect. And when you're in these certain work environments, you have to protect yourself because they're building stuff on you too. And when I put in my notice, I had to sign. They wanted me to sign something saying I will never talk about this company again and give me a check, to not say anything else. But I said, hell no, because I know there are going to be opportunities where people are going to be like, what happened to you with that experience? How did you handle it? And if I have to drop names, I'm going to drop names because it's, it's important. But I went to my car, I had talked to myself in the car. I would, talk to my mentor, but I didn't back down. It's just for me, why do I have to fight? I was director of behavioral health. Why do I have to fight to serve my people? Why do I have to prove to you this is what they want? This is what they need. I have these experiences myself. They tell me what they need in their sessions, and you're worried about numbers. This is why your numbers aren't going to work. They have to feel safe here. They don't. But it was like, it's numbers, you're not cooperating. So I that's how I communicated. I fought until I couldn't fight anymore, and did it my own way with private practice.
Here we are. So at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about, this whole one we talked about with all of your journeys. I'd love to know from each of you, what are some of the hindrances you've experienced throughout your wellness journey that's gotten you to this moment? Right? And then I think to cap that off, what from the hindrances that you've had, what have you done to balance that out? And each of you could take that on if you want to go in order. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
The biggest hindrances I have to say is patriarchy and white supremacy. And I'm gonna be like 100. Like when I think about all the problems that I've had, all the obstacles that I face in life, I can trace it to white supremacy and patriarchy, which are damn near one and the same. I find that the biggest stresses I've had have been related to race and gender, these days, sexuality and sexual orientation. But like, the work that you have to do to overcompensate for that nonsense, like you understand it's there. So the toll that it takes on you, just emotionally, physically, to know that you're gonna have to work harder, you're gonna have to do all these extra things to protect yourself from these assaults of white supremacy, these assaults of patriarchy, all the stuff that you're dealing with. And it's really interesting because I know that like when we're online and stuff, and there's a lot of conversations and people use these words and kind of throw them around, but this is like very real stuff. And I think that sometimes we become conditioned to accept it, but you don't realize how these micro and macro aggressions are slowly eating at you like every day, and your body is overcompensating and trying to heal itself to deal with the fact that this person said this thing about your hair, or this person said that, oh, you sing so well, and just all those kinds of things. You're just like, if anything, it's my nails because I'm trying to not punch you because I am from the Bronx. And so it's like the things that you have to do to like, okay, and that's stress, and that's stress. And so you end up being like, all right, I need a drink, or let me go puff one real quick, or something that is going to help me in this moment to alleviate, because I can't wait to go to the spa next week. I can't wait to get a massage. I got to do something right now, and that can definitely like kind of hinder the way you want to go about it. I would never say that I have the healthiest practices. Like I would never lie to y'all like that. I definitely could use improvement in some ways, and money helps. We have to be honest, that money does help. And it's unfortunate that one of the biggest hindrances to people being able to be well is lack of money. And that's traced back to white supremacy and patriarchy.
So I got it. So I would have to say religion. That's religion, and it's like tied to identity and then tied to guilt, right? And then also tied to worthiness. Because I think that, you know, as a Christian, you're taught to be in this mode of like, oh, I don't deserve God's grace. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve that. And you can't compartmentalize that, right? It kind of permeates in every area of your life. Like, I don't deserve to leave this marriage that makes me feel miserable. I don't deserve to have this amount of success without working hard. I don't know, just whatever, like all these narratives that we believe in. And so I think that that has been one of the biggest internal struggles that I had, like dealing with identity, like also forming what does worthiness feel like to you, Deun? Like, what does happiness feel like? What is your identity outside of worship? You know what I'm saying? And like all of me kind of like battling with that and like really reconditioning my mind around the fact that loving myself is a priority. My joy is too important to dismiss. And it's like, I cannot live a miserable life and I'm not
That's the real religion.
Yes, exactly. You know, right. And I do think that you can love God, but I also think you need to love yourself. And that's why a lot of people leave, because they're depressed. You know, you're taught to not have an identity. You're taught to not have self-awareness. And you need self-awareness to like live a joyful life. And like I said, and I'm going to always say, joy is your birthright, but it's hard for you to access that if you don't even know who you are, what makes you happy, what makes you feel loved, you know? And so now I have no more guilt when it comes to prioritizing my joy or my happiness or whatever. I'm like, I do feel free. And I feel like in me being free, I'm giving other women the permission to be free. So, yeah.
It's funny how it's like it's a third party. It's like me and then like I can serve myself and I can serve God, but like you are God. Like there's no separation between the
Exactly.
two. It is one thing, right? And so I think that and this is just my opinion. No disrespect to anybody for what you practice and believe in. In my opinion, there is no difference between me and what is considered to be God. Like we're all breathing the same air right now, right? We all need food and water to survive, so there is no separation. All of it is one thing. God, I appreciate
A hindrance in reclaiming my wealth. My participation in certain institutions has been a hindrance, specifically academic institutions. When we think about the chasing the carrot or the unrealistic advertised norms of what a scholar or academic is supposed to be. But I think I had really been conditioned to chase certain carrots. But can I do an experiment with you all? All right, I have informed consent to do it. Okay. All right, ethics, right? All right, so I want to do an experiment. And I'm going to have you all say one word. I'm going to have you say it faster, faster, and faster. We'll all say it together. I'm going to put my hand up like this to tell you to stop. And then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, I'll give the directions again. Okay. I'm going to have you all say one word. We're going to all say it. I'm say it faster, faster, faster. I'm going to put my hand up like this to tell you to stop. And then I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. All right. So the one word I want you to say is top, T-O-P. Ready? Top, 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 top. What do you do when you see a green light?
Stop, damn it, because that's what the word was.
All right, you got to pass your license.
No, you're good. No, I knew where that was going.
All right, then. Okay. All right, who wants to confess that they said stop? You can, okay, so the majority, right? The majority said stop. I'll ask it again. What do you do when you see a green light? So I want to be mindful that I conditioned you in like 2 seconds, right? How did I condition you all to make you say the word stop when you knew, right? You know the answer is go. What did I do?
Wait, did you say stop or top? Which one was it?
I would say top.
Oh, okay. I just make sure. Okay, got it.
So it rhymes with the right. I gave you a word that rhymes. I made you say it so fast that you weren't even thinking. I made you all do it together. You all are very compliant. In terms of just even thinking about the speed that you didn't have a pause but to think about, what is success, right? To make a lot of money. What is like these things that we're conditioned to get a PhD, to do all these different things, when that's not actually the right answer for everybody, right? And so I think I had to do some, I don't know if it's class suicide or what, but to kind of disagree with how it's been socialized, because you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to get the highest degree or, get straight A's. But even over the past year and a half, I really had to confront this institutional indoctrination. And I resigned from a tenure track position. I had a whole Nicole Hannah-Jones situation going on with tenure. Like I had published 30 articles, had 2 books, all these a whole bunch of stuff. But they asked me, oh, just reapply for tenure. We want to make sure this part is perfect. I'm like, perfect. They literally use the word, I have to be perfect. And so just recognizing that I was seeking validation from an institution that could not actually judge me. And so I've been really questioning other institutions in that way, in terms of my own disruption, to really pause and say, go. And so I think that that's been my process.
I come from a blended family. To give you an idea of what I mean is, when I graduated from Howard, my mom was here, my dad's ex-wife was here, and his current woman all came to my graduation. So that's just how much we care and take care of each other. We have not no sister wives stuff, but as far as this is who. That's okay. Yeah, it is okay. It is okay. But the way my family is set up, we take care of each other. So I would say my hindrances might have been me and my responsibilities on my family. And I say that because I carry the role of, mom now, but sister, auntie, daughter, niece, and different things like that. And for some reason, my parents named me Sakeenah, and it means God-inspired peace of mind, tranquility. And I've been that component for my family. So my cousins lean on me, everyone leans on me. Sakeenah, she knows this, she does that and that. And I would take that stuff on for a very, very long time. When my father went to prison, I was parentified. I took care of my brother. But I had older brothers who were parentified, who had to take care of us. And one of my brothers told me, he said, if you continue this way, taking on other people's things, you're going to get an ulcer. And that slowed me down, but it didn't stop me, right? So I'm dating, I'm in college. Even though I'm in college, I'm kind of like the most stable adult at that point. I'm talking about inside my siblings and then like my first cousins. But I'm dating, I'm telling guys, well, my cousin is not doing so well. And I told her that if something happens with her, I'm gonna raise her son. Son's like 12 years old and I'm over here like 20, 22, talk about something. Well, I just want you to be ready, because if I have to take him, we're living together. So this is what it is. Like, I was preparing my life and setting up for that drama between family members and, whoever they're dating, the kids, baby moms, and things like that. I'm stepping in. And I had to say, wait a minute. If I'm the call, I'm always the phone call. I'm in the middle of something. I'm at work. Their emergency is not my emergency. I have to actually take a break, because now I'm like, when I get the call, it's like, okay, what do I need to do to get them stable? What do I need to do to take care of them? How can I step in and do this? I'm talking when I lived in DC. I'm talking about when I lived in Atlanta. I'm not even in the same state trying to find a solution and resolution. And that was starting to weigh in on me. So when I started saying no, or, you know what, I can help you, but let me get back to that. I'm at work, or I have this project, or I have whatever else going on. It made it so much easier for me to take care of myself that way, to just say, you know what, I'm not going to give you a hard no, but I'm going to schedule a time to where I can assist you. It's great. It's still a journey, right? I'm not perfect, There are moments where I kind of like step in, might have to pull up on somebody just to see my nephew, like that, but it's what I do. It's out of love, but just saying no, because we wear so many hats, and we want to help. I've ended up being a social worker, so I have kids. I was a soccer coach. These are my kids, so I was carrying on the weight of everyone, and I have to tell myself when I go home, I have to take care of me. But it doesn't have to wait till you get home either. When I said I go to the car at work, I have to take care of myself. But the hindrances was just trying to be that savior and peacemaker for everyone, and knowing that even if you say no, they're not going to cut you off completely. They're going to understand, and you teach them about what they need to do for their own wellness by being a model for them. So that's how I handle that. Yeah. I identify so much with that. So thank you guys. Thank you for being so vulnerable and so open. We're going to save questions for the panel for after an activity. So we have very interesting activity. We're going to teach you guys to be a little open-minded because we're going to create some space for you to be vulnerable with each other. So my team and I are going to pass out some materials. So they'll just give us a moment. You'll see next to you, you'll see a set of sticky notes and a pen.